Okay, hi, good day everyone. We are from Digix Team, and I have myself, Sean, Casey, Anthony, and Chris here. This webinar series will serve as an introduction and a brief checkpoint to the progress of the Digix DAO. So a couple of agendas that we have today will be covering what Digix DAO is for newcomers, and we're providing a couple of progress updates on the Digix DAO, as well as housekeeping matters on what the funds are used for, definitions of peripherals that we could possibly see on DigixDAO. And the team here, we have compiled a checklist for project proposals as well as Digix token holders, just to get you guys familiarized with the process of voting as well as submission of a proposal. Yeah. So Anthony, would you mind just giving a talk on what the DigixDAO is?
Hello, guys. Yeah, so the DigixDAO is basically a way for us to fund projects on Ethereum that would help not only grow Digix, the use of Digix Global's DGX tokens, but also help grow the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole. So the idea here is that the only way that Digix will succeed as a business is that if we can increase the use of people using Ethereum, because the ultimate goal of Digix is to become the standard gold and asset-based token on Ethereum. So the DigixDAO basically works where you guys have participated during a crowd sale, and you will have the ability to propose and vote on project proposals to basically build on things to help grow Ethereum and grow Digix. So that's about it as far as the general overview of what the DigixDAO is.
All right, great, thank you. So I'll just give everyone a brief update on the progress so far. Now, Anthony is working on the DAO governance contracts, and you can always track the general framework on our GitHub page. Now, to help speed up its completion, we are actively looking to hire an additional developer into the team as well. Now, we're also getting the governance UI page done for all token holders, allow token holders an easy way to approve, reject proposals, as well as keep track of pledge counts and window periods for pledging. Now, the governance UI itself is concurrently being worked on with our Digix Client 2.0, which is an entire redesign of our current web app. Now, we ran a design competition recently for our UI template, and we will soon be picking the winner of the competition. Now, this template would then be used to reskin our entire client, our web page, the landing page, as well as the governance UI. Next, last but not least, we want to advocate transparency and accountability of our software development. So we will be publishing regular Kanban flow reports on Reddit as well as on Medium. So this report itself will better show the public the progress as well as activities that are being prioritized and worked upon by each and every one of us at Digix Global. So how should Digix DAO funds be used? Now, we hope that DAO token holders will take a relatively prudent approach in assessing every project proposal submitted to Digix DAO. You see, now DAO token holders as a community should discuss the best framework in evaluating each proposal. We, of course, will be there to help lead this by providing a platform, a framework, as well as guidelines for discussion. So as mentioned, we have uploaded a simple guideline which we have been using internally for our own independent consulting projects. So we just want to lead out with a simple idea to help discussions moving forward for DigixDAO and its token holders. Now, funds should be used to spur and grow peripherals of the DigixDAO, and the proposals should fully demonstrate how it could help with the adoption of DGX and how it would reward DigixDAO token holders as well. So what are considered peripherals? Now, peripherals are projects, startups alike that are not in any way linked to Digix Global. As long as the project have a direct incentive, DGD token holders, they can be considered as a project proposal. We also hope to see reward structures to DGD holders done on-chain to maintain the kind of accountability and transparency. So a good example would be current transaction fees are integrated with the DAO. So transaction fees of DGX tokens happen entirely on-chain. It does not first pass through a private database, doesn't require us at Digix to manually delegate a certain portion of the rewards back to token holders. Everything in and of itself happens autonomously on the blockchain. So this is something that we look for in terms of transparency in the reward structure. Now, so in our very first iteration, our initial plan, we wanted to segment different proposals according to marketing, legal, R&D. Now we are proposing to streamline everything to a much simpler vision and explanation. We hope to see that the funds are used to directly increase the adoption of DGX on Ethereum. I think this makes the most sense to all of us because this was what token holders who pledged into DigixDAO understood in the first place. Now, Sean would just go into examples of what kind of projects could fit this type of profile.
Right, so on Digix Team's end, we have a couple of proposals that we have been considering that we could suggest to the DAO. So the first one would be an EtherX integration cost. I believe that over the past couple of months, we've been speaking a lot about EtherX as well as the idea of the decentralized exchange. So therefore, we are actually looking to spur EtherX process and making them go live. So therefore, this could be one example of proposal that Digix Global could submit to the DAO. Of course, the benefit of this would be the entire Ethereum ecosystem, not specific to just the DGX adoption. Two other proposals that we have in mind that would directly benefit the DAO holders would be, firstly, the auditing and vaulting expenses could be possibly submitted as a proposal to the Digix DAO. In return, we'll be actually increasing the incentive that currently the DigixDAO token holders receive from 0.13% of just transaction fees to also include the demurrage rebates. Right now, Digix Global itself, we charge a 0.39% on demurrage, hence over a period of 360 days prorated per day. So therefore, we're actually looking to bring over this expense into the DigixDAO, and in return to directly benefit the DigixDAO token holders in increasing incentives. The other project that we have in mind would be to include other asset classes or even other precious metals that we have mentioned earlier on as well. So Digix Core itself, we have been considering to list tokens that will be backed by silver, platinum, or even palladium. And in addition to those, to the current gold token that we have, this could actually potentially give a lot more visibility of Digix Global, not just as a gold-backed standard in Ethereum, but more of like a precious metal or an asset tokenization key player in the entire Ethereum ecosystem. And a proposal that will actually detail vaulting costs required to actually list the tokens. In return, we could just suggest to return those transaction fees off the other asset-backed coins back to the DigixDAO. So definitely these two form of projects here would actually directly benefit the DigixDAO token holders. Digix Global may actually provide a couple of checkpoint guides as to how the peripherals should be spurred on or developed. However, the success of the entire peripheral should be actually on the team itself, and we definitely should not rely on Digix Global itself to actually ensure its success, because we don't really want to function more of like an angel investor or seed fund kind of a role, but actually we want to operate more like a DigixDAO governance where we provide that additional resources that you will require to help adopt DGX into your own line of business. So the involvement of the DigixDAO will actually be to govern the release of funds when milestones of the peripherals are reached in accordance to what they had you had mentioned earlier on in the proposals. And the main goal of this whole development approach is to protect DGD holders, because we don't really want to pledge ethers into projects without a proper reward structure. Hence, the reward structure for proposals as well as pledges alike should be taken into account. Yes, so for a couple of checklists we've came up that we have been relying on our own consulting projects. It could be quite comprehensive, but we think that this is definitely one of the best approach to go in terms of providing information to the public. So we will require actually a write-up or summary of the business plan, not in a very long or exhaustive manner, but more of the key highlights of what the entire peripheral is. And we will require a proof of concept in the form of either a white paper or an open source code that currently you have been developing. So an example of this would be Taurus, one of our Slack members, Gaurang, as well as David Moskovitz. So they have been developing a swap contract on Ethereum for a proxy, for an escrow contract, for DGD tokens in exchange for Ether. So definitely this is an example of a POC that we think is pretty ideal in terms of how a proposal should look like. And the scope of work will also include features of the project, the main business revenue, as well as the business model of the entire peripheral, and how it would directly or indirectly help boost DGX volume. And the reward structure as well as technical implementation must be very clear in the sense that all reward must be on-chain for integrity purposes as well. Deliverables will include either a web client or you're having a web page or governance sort of a contract that we could actually track, and as well as the timeline of the project. The timeline of the project is such that we can allow pledges to actually keep track and understand how long this project will actually be proceeding on, and which stage of the development are you guys at. Yeah. So a couple of financial analysis that we require on the proposals itself. We would like to see actually a cost benefit analysis of how exactly this project will be actually return on investment to the Digix funding itself, and the break-even analysis could also be shown to the pledges to help them better analyze this financial decision. So a breakdown of investments as well. So funding components should be detailed in terms of how much ethers you guys actually require to propose to the DAO. This is just for transparency's sake as well as for accountability issues. So definitely we would like to actually define properly each milestone, and we'll be very reasonable and clear and fair in the sense that we don't really want to overestimate or give too much expectations to every peripheral. I mean, peripherals, they themselves are startups like us, so we definitely understand that many targets could or could not be feasible at the start. So we would like to actually define a range of milestones that you guys could possibly achieve in order for a payout to be given. Or it could be done on a percentage of completion consensus. If you have done the web app up to a live beta stage, we could be receiving maybe, let's say, like 60% of the funding, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And who will actually be governing this performance? We will actually leave it up to you to decide in terms of having either the proposers, the badge holders, and also would like to detail some form of key performance indicator for success. It could be the number of transactions done per day. It could be revenue stream per month or turnover. This is just very generic business gauge that we would like to implement here. And for every peripheral, we always believe that there will be risk involved. It could be legal risk in terms of jurisdiction laws that may apply to your own peripheral, or counterparty risk should you be dealing with other vendors in your business. Or even it could even include technical points of failure or compromise, such as any form of security that you guys have not considered or could be considering. So these are all risks that we would like proposals to actually disclose to allow our pledges to get a better understanding of the entire risk to reward kind of structure. The team structure and point of contact is important as well, so that we can definitely get in touch with you or provide advice or give you feedback from our private pledges. This is something that we can facilitate a very transparent and a very agile kind of development approach here. So for pledges, we came up a list of questions where we want to actually help you to be thought-provoking in terms of questioning your this decision in pledging. So firstly, we'd like to actually ask yourself, how much is this project actually being requested? Is it a fair amount of sum? Is it a fair sum of money that should be given to this peripheral? And what is actually the main aim of the business? And will this actually allow DGX to be adopted in the manner that the business had mentioned? Thirdly, as well, rewarders being coded on a blockchain should be something that, as mentioned earlier on, for integrity purposes, and some of the risks that we should be considering as well as rewards. So would this actually increase the adoption of DGX directly or indirectly? So for direct impact on transactional volume, we could imagine a peripheral who wants to actually adopt DGX as a form of reward in exchange for its profits that's generated off the business. So if I'm a business and I have a certain amount of profit, I will actually agree or write it out in a contract that I would take up maybe 1 or 2% of my own profits and purchase DGX to be redistributed back for the pledges who actually pledge into my project. So this is actually a direct form of transactional volume boost to DGX. For indirect form could be exchange integrations as well, such as boosting the entire ecosystem of Ethereum. So, and a couple of points to consider in terms of development stages. We have 3 different stages that we had thought of. Firstly, is a concept stage. This concept stage will actually have a capped funding, as it would be somewhere in the region where the white paper is really interesting and we feel that there's a lot of potential. Hence, we would actually like to set aside a cap funding just to prevent an over expectation of the project. A beta stage will be somewhere where you have a current working application on the testnet. We would like to allow pledges to actually test out the platform to give them a better understanding of what this project could be like. A live stage project would be a peripheral who would be in a growth stage or in a late stage kind of phase with live working platform with available customers and current revenue numbers. So for these different stages, definitely fundings will be tiered upwards. Pledges should also consider the estimated time for this entire peripheral to go live. Would a drain of the resources be something that's prevalent? Should the project actually delay over more than 12 months? And therefore, you should consider in terms of the shift in the climate of the whole Ethereum ecosystem. And as mentioned earlier on our own DigixDAO tracking of the progress, we feel that having an image or having a Kanban flow would actually be very helpful and useful for pledges to actually make a decision, because they can actually be tracking in terms of where the progress of this entire peripheral is going. And it's definitely something that's a lot more transparent. And we actually encourage you to set up a Slack channel under your own peripheral name with the hashtag in the format of a hashtag DigixDAO and peripheral name after your peripheral has been approved. This will actually allow real-time feedback from different members of the Slack channel who could actually join in and give you a couple of feedbacks. This will definitely help to boost the entire speed and expedite every process of the peripheral. And milestone updates should be given on a monthly basis just to provide a checkpoint guide as to where the peripheral has been progressing. Yeah, so I'll leave Chris to suggest a couple of points on implementation of the UI for your own peripheral.
Thanks, Sean. So yeah, I just wanted to add a couple of points here about our kind of philosophy in terms of rebuilding the UI. So we want to both create reusable components for Digix itself, but also open source some of those things so that the whole Ethereum community can benefit from our development effort. One of the things we are going to be releasing fairly soon is a light wallet client. So this will be a React component that will support EIP20 tokens, meaning DigixDAO, Digix Gold tokens, and basically any other standardized token in the Ethereum network. This will mean that people can easily build dApps with account support out of the box and the ability to interact with Digix tokens very easily. And we want to embrace that kind of open source approach and encourage you guys to do as well. And we are basically embracing the modern React web framework. So if you're looking to build some components that might be part of this proposal, we suggest using React, as if we work together on building a nice tool set for the community, we might as well use the same framework for that. That's all. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So yeah, we've come to the end of our own webinar introductions. So we'll be taking questions in the question panel. We have a couple of questions that has streamed in. So the first one is from Rich. If someone wanted to trade the DGX in exchange for delivery of real assets, how is the process initiated?
Yep, you can do so within our web client currently. So what happens is that we would have to collect KYC information, and once it passes verification, we would proceed to either have you physically pick up the gold bar, or we could also have it shipped out to your location. So Malka Amit, our custodian, would handle the delivery for us on our behalf.
Right, so there's like a redemption request.
Yeah, so actually the way that it would work is that you would so redemption of a physical gold bar, the minimum is 100 gram, so that you basically receive a 100 gram Belcambi or Papsis bar. To basically get started, what you would do is you take 100 tokens and you would go into the app, the Digix app, and basically send a request to recast a token using the tokens that you have. And then once you have that asset, you can control that asset. You can schedule a private audit for it, or you can request a redemption. If you want to get it shipped, you just send us an email with your asset ID, and we will give you instructions on how to identify yourself through the UI. And like Casey said, once that's all approved and done with the KYC, we will we will coordinate the shipment, or you can coordinate the pickup of it.
Right. So next question from Rich as well is, are there plans to make use of DAO link or something similar?
Yeah, so that's the plan for our governance UI. It should include a forum as well as how to pledge, how to make your decisions, and whatever comments that you want to have, you could always submit on to that governance UI page. Besides, we also have our Slack chat. So as Sean mentioned, it would be good if every proposer would set up their own Slack channel within DigixX public chat, so that anyone could come in and ask questions about the project itself.
Right. The next point is from Inifan. What are your comments, thoughts on BitGo now accepting ethers? What are the likely repercussions for Digix?
So BitGo is always is not a blockchain-based asset or currency. They actually run their own internal ledger in a database, which means that you do not have the same synergies that you would have with Digix with the rest of the entire Ethereum ecosystem. So Digix basically is a ERC20 based token, which means that you can use that token for anything that can support ERC20, and you can build apps around it. So I think that's one of our biggest selling points for building this on Ethereum, and this also helps us integrate with our DAO as well. So that's one of the main things that I can think of. Obviously, we will try to outdo them on marketing and feature sets. So I think that we're not concerned about BitGold at all, accepting ethers.
The next question is, are you planning to submit requests to the DAO and to other Ethereum-based projects for them to allocate some ethers in DGX as a way to protect them from volatility? So I think there's two parts of this question. Yep. So are we actually planning on any form of request to the DAO? I think right now at the moment we have not been considering any form of suggestions that we could be made to the DAO. Casey, you have a point to add?
I was about to say the same thing. We don't, at this current moment, we don't have any plans to submit any proposals to the DAO.
Right.
Yeah, but it is a possibility that we can, yes, that we will be able to take a proposal to put a certain amount of the ether into a stable asset like DGX or Maker or any other stable assets, or we can hedge it at some place that would offer a hedge for us. But yes, I do like the idea of having DGX as the asset that we can hold our DAO funds.
Right. So Paolo's question is, would the webinar presentation be made available? So Paolo, we have on the webinars.digix.io page, we have a PDF version of this, so that will be available there. And in the near future, we'll be uploading a sample proposal where you could have a rough guideline or format that you could actually follow in terms of the proposal structure. So this will be done by the end of the week. We'll be actually uploading this onto the webinars page. Now, I'll just type it. The webinar page will be webinars.digix.io. I've submitted it onto the chat function under the panel. So we're still in the process of really figuring out how this whole proposal's structure should be done in terms of checklists for both sides of parties, the pledges as well as proposals. So we definitely welcome any kind of feedback or any kind of other kind of criteria that we should actually consider here. So it's very much an ongoing process that we're learning as well on the Digix team's end. So Marius has a question. So no proposals can be made yet until the appropriate infrastructure is in place. Is that correct? I think he's referring to the whole governance.
Yes, so that's correct. We won't be able to submit proposals, but you guys can start working on creating the white papers if you have ideas. Generate, like sample, like your proof of concept, and start working on the documentation that you need to submit a proposal that we have outlined here today. We are working on, completing the governance contracts as well as the reward system for it. So initially, the proposals will be a little bit more crude because of the UI integrations. So the way I see it happening is that once we have the contracts ready and audited and deployed, you'll be able to submit your proposals using MIST. or My Ether wallet once they integrate that functionality as well. And we'll provide you with step-by-step details on how to do that. But ultimately, the goal is to create a UI where you can easily just submit your proposals through a web form and sign them. But it's a work in progress, right?
Right. Gaurang has a question. Would there be a maximum and minimum amount for funding of the proposals? As mentioned, we have three different stages. Let me just pull up the slide. Um, yep. So will have three different stages in terms of assessing the peripherals, and it is a concept stage, beta, or live stage. I wouldn't really say that there will be a hard cap on a maximum or minimum amount. It will be more of a relying on you to justify the amount of your proposal as well as the peripheral that will require. So we're trying to leave this open for now in terms of not restricting the amount of resources, but at the same time wanting to remain prudent in allocation of the effort. Yeah, is there anyone else want to add on a point of having this minimum maximum cap on funding proposals? Right, okay, so next point for Mario's is do we have an approximate timeline, Anthony, on the
Yeah, so we're going to be publishing our status page, which is going to take our data from our project planning tool Kanban flow, so that we will have a live update of all the tasks that we're working on, and you'll be able to track exactly when it's going to take place.
And we'll be actually uploading the replay of this webinar by the end of the day today.
I think we could possibly hand over the time to Attores, Gaurang. I think he has something interesting to share. I think he just built a swap contract for Digix badges today. I just saw his tweet appear on my Twitter feed. So, Gaurang, if you don't mind, I'll hand over the mic to you, and then you could share a bit about your project.
Hang on, Casey. There's a question for Chris in terms of Meteor as well as switching to React. Maybe you can just answer that. Yeah.
Sure. So basically, in Meteor, great platform, but it's kind of aging in terms of the ecosystem, and a lot of prominent Meteor developers are switching over to React. We see that in the future, basically, things are shifting towards React. The other thing is that React components can be used in Meteor apps, so there's no reason we can't implement the templates we use in React and then put them in a Meteor app. So there's backwards compatibility there, but not if we use Meteor primarily.
Gaurang, okay, we'll be handing over the time over to you.
Thank you, Sean and Casey, for giving me the opportunity to speak here. So guys, I'm Gaurang, and I'm working on a company called Attores along with David Moskowitz. So we are building smart contracts as a service. So essentially what we want to do is we want to make it easy for people to deploy and create smart contracts. So we are building smart contract templates, open sourcing them, and later we are going to create a UI where you can easily deploy a smart contract with just a click of a few buttons. So we want to make it as easy as Shapeshift to deploy a lot of different smart contracts. So to start with that, we have built some swap contracts for DGT tokens. So last week I open sourced the swap contract for DGT tokens, and today I have open sourced another template for DGT badges. So essentially you can create a escrow swap contract, put some price on that badges. So if you say that you're going to sell your badge for 30 Ether or 40 Ether, you can create a swap contract for that. And then you can transfer your badges to that contract. And then on the other side, someone can send Ether to that contract and get the badges. So actually, you don't have to go to an exchange anymore. So yesterday I have written one more Medium post about what you can do with a swap contract. So it removes the exchange intermediary from that, and essentially you can put out many swap contracts. So you can put out one swap contract for 30 Ether, second for 32, third for 35, whatever, and then see how the market is reacting to that, and you can see which swap contracts people are participating into. So beyond this, we also want to submit a proposal to the DigixDAO where we want to build sort of a P2P exchange for the DAO tokens, DAO badges, and also the DGX tokens itself. So yesterday I was having a discussion with Casey. I was trying to understand the transaction fees and the demurrage costs that are included in the DGX transactions. So I and David, what we think is that building this would certainly increase the adoption of DGX tokens, the transactions of all the DGX tokens and the DGD tokens. David, do you want to say anything else? Yeah, and with this, what happens is the DAO holders will also get the DAO token holders will also get an advantage. As you know, if the transaction volume of DGX increases, then obviously the DAO token holders are going to get rewards based on that. So in our system, we also want to build some kind of reward structure through which the DGD token holders and the DGX can get some rewards. So we are working on that part, but right now I'm concentrating on open sourcing the templates. Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
So are you guys integrating some kind of price feed for this, where we can take the data from the swaps and publish that data and take calculations on it?
Yeah, we can do that. So in the proposal, what we are going to do is we are going to build an order book around this, so that you can see the transactions that are happening in real time, the swap contracts that are not fulfilled yet, and in which you can participate, and all these things. Yeah, definitely. We should. We are also going to release an API along with this, so that you can get the prices for all the swaps.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Maybe we can reuse some of that price feeds as well for the public and put that on our site, as well as for other things that we're trying to build.
That would be great, actually. So see, Anthony, essentially our vision is that you can essentially speculate with your DGX tokens or DGD tokens. So if on the exchange the price is like 10 Ether, and you want to do a friendly swap with someone you know for 9 Ether or 11 Ether, you should be able to do that. So that's my vision with this, to empower the users.
It's perfect.
Yeah, thank you. Casey, I think that's it from my side. We'll keep you guys updated about the
Yeah, definitely. I guess we'll put you for another webinar where we could solely focus on your product and your pitch.
Thank you, Casey. Thanks a lot.
Right. I guess we can wrap up today's webinar session. Thank you very much for participating today. We will be uploading this on YouTube and on our Reddit. So if anyone wants to replay it, feel free to do so.